Well, Iran is taking military action today after the U.S. launched what President Trump is calling his Project Freedom in the Strait of Hormuz.
U.S. Central Command says Iran fired cruise missiles and drones at U.S. flagged ships and U.S. Navy ships in the Strait earlier. It also launched more drones and several small boats to target American commercial vessels that were attempting to transit the waterway.
Moments ago, President Trump said those strikes left, quote, no damage, and that the U.S. responded by shooting down some of those small boats.
This is all coming after the president announced yesterday that the U.S. military would assist countries not involved in the conflict by guiding their ships out of the Strait of Hormuz. NBC News senior national security correspondent Courtney Kube joins us now. So, Courtney, help us understand. The U.S. says it's going to use attack helicopters to respond with these new threats and strikes from Iran. You know, how is this going to work? And talk about the level of risk right now.
And U.S. attack helicopters actually have already responded. So the president in his social media posting talked about 7 small boats. We spoke with the commander of U.S. Central Command, Admiral Brad Cooper. He actually said there were 6 boats and that they were taken out or blown up by U.S. Apache helicopters and Seahawk helicopters. They struck each one of those before they were able to actually threaten those U.S. commercial ships that were transiting out of the Gulf through the Strait of Hormuz to make their way. Now, so here's how this exactly is going to work, because it's not been very clear. The U.S. military went in ahead of this Project Freedom announcement, and they were able to somehow clear or ensure that there was a clear pathway or passageway for ships through a southern part of the Strait of Hormuz, basically down towards Omani territorial waters. Once they were able to be certain that an area was clear, then the military began what Admiral Cooper was calling a defensive umbrella. So that includes things like those helicopters, other U.S. aircraft, and then Navy ships that are there that are essentially watching any kind of commercial ships as they make their way through to help knock down any projectiles like the cruise missiles, like the drones, and then, of course, go after those small boats, basically to try to protect them, but not really escort them through, but protect them as they go.
You know, it's interesting, Courtney, because Tehran just issued a new map today showing the parts of the strait that it claims to control. But take us through, when we look at this map, the debate over who actually controls the waterway. But how does that debate then impact the attacks you're just reporting on today?
Yeah, so this is the exact crux of this entire issue, is the fact that the international parts of the Strait of Hormuz are supposed to be open to all commercial traffic, all traffic at all, military or whatever it may be. But you can see up in the northern side, up towards Kreshe Island there, that's Iranian territorial waters for 12 miles off their coast. On the southern side, Oman there. Also that's Omani territorial waters. So, but there should be open, free transit through the center part of that. Even though it's a narrow waterway, there's plenty of room there for commercial ships to be able to transit. It's just since the war began and during the ceasefire, they've not been able to do so safely.
Courtney Kube there, excellent reporting from our D.C. bureau, walking us through that map in the Strait of Hormuz. Courtney, thank you.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.